Alright, we're going to look at solving equations with fractions, but this time we're going to be looking at multiplication. So looking at the multiplicative inverse. Alright, so bell ringer, this is with whole numbers, so you've got negative 5 times x equals 45. So to undo multiplication, we use division, or we take the multiplicative inverse of negative 1/5. Okay, so the multiplicative inverse of 1/5 of negative 5 would be negative 1/5. So here I'm just going to show multiplying by a negative 1/5 is the same as dividing by negative 5. So you divide by negative 5, your 5's are going to cancel out, leaving you with x. And then 45 divided by negative 5 is going to be negative 9. Okay, likewise here. This is x times 1/15. Okay, so the multiplicative inverse of 1/15 would be 15 over 1. So what we do here is we multiply both sides by 15. Those are going to cancel out, leaving us with x. So 15 times x divided by 15, the 15s are going to cancel out. Okay, 6 times 15, that's going to give us 90. Okay, so we're going to use these same steps, the multiplicative inverse. Some also might refer to it as the reciprocal, but this time we're looking at the reciprocal of a fraction. So the coefficient, which is the number in front of the variable on all these, is a fraction. So the multiplicative inverse is just its reciprocal. Remember, the reciprocal is a fraction flipped upside down. Okay, so here we've got 2/3 times x equals 7/9. We are going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, or the multiplicative inverse. So the reciprocal or multiplicable inverse of 2/3 is just that fraction flipped, which is 3/2. Okay, those are going to cancel out on this side, leaving us with x. And now x is going to be equal to 7/9 times 3/2. You can cross simplify when possible. So here, cross simplify, that's going to equal 7 over 3 times 1 over 2. And now when we multiply fractions, you multiply numerators, multiply denominators, simplify if possible. So 7 times 1 is 7. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, that's an improper fraction, so last step, we convert it to a mixed number. So 6 can go into 7 once, with a remainder of 1. So we get our 1 and 1/6. Okay, next one, so same steps. Multiplicative inverse of the coefficient, and that's going to be applied to both sides of the equation. So negative 9/5. And you're going to times this side by negative 9/5. Okay, these cancel out, leaving you with x, which is equal to 7/12 times negative 9/5. You can cross simplify. There is a 3 is a common factor. That's going to give us 7/4 times 3/5. It is a negative, so the outcome is going to be negative. We only need to put the negative on the numerator. So 7 times 3 is a negative 21. Okay, and then 4 times 5 is going to be 20. All right, so that is an improper fraction, so we will need to convert that to negative 1, and the remainder would be 1. Denominator stays the same, so it's negative 1 and 1/20. Okay, this next one, you'll notice there's a whole number on the other side. But remember, a whole number is a fraction that just you put over 1, so it would be negative 4 once. Okay, so once again, multiplicative inverse. So 3/2. And then we're going to multiply this side by 3/2. Okay, those are going to cancel out, leaving us with x. So x is equal to negative 4 over 1 times 3 over 2. Okay, so we just changed the negative 4 into a improper fraction. Okay, we can cross simplify here. So that's going to give us x is equal to negative 2 over 1 times 3 over 1, which is actually just going to equal a negative 6. And note here that it is a positive times a negative, so the outcome is going to be negative. All right, so these next ones, you'll notice that we are dealing with with mixed numbers. When you multiply mixed numbers, you have to convert to improper fractions. So this first one, this becomes 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 3 is 13. So you have 13 fifths, and we're going to times that by the reciprocal, which would be 5/13. Those are going to cancel each other out. Okay, on this side you've got 5 times 3, which is 15, plus 4 is 19. So you have 19 fifths on this side. We're going to have to multiply this by 5/13. Okay, looking at this, we can cross simplify. You notice that across from each other you have the same number. So we can replace those with just 1. So this is really just 19 over 1 times 1 over 13. That tells us that x is going to be equal to 19/13. It is an improper fraction, so we convert it into a mixed number. 13 can go into 19 once. The remainder here would be 6, because 19 minus 13 is 6. Denominator stays the same. Okay, last two. So here we've got a positive times a negative, so the outcome is going to be negative. There's only one here that we have to convert into a mixed number, or improper fraction, sorry. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 5 is going to give us 23. So I'm going to do 6 over 23, which is going to be the reciprocal. And this side also gets multiplied by the reciprocal, which is 6/23. Okay, negative 3 and 23 do not share a common factor. However, 6 and 4 do. You can divide both those by 2. So that leaves us with x is equal to negative 3/2 times 3 over 23. Okay, once again, multiply numerators together. So negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And 2 times 23 is going to give us 46. And that is in simplest form. The factors of 9 are 3 and 3. And 1 and 9 and 3 do not go into 46. So that would be in simplest form. Okay, last one. Note this is a negative and a negative. So when you multiply them, you're going to get a positive. So multiply first both sides by the multiplicative inverse. So the multiplicative inverse of 7/12 is going to be negative 12/7. So we multiply both sides by that. Okay, so here we have x equals negative 7/8 times negative 12/7. You'll notice that we, across from each other, we have a common number, 7, so we divide both those by 7. Also with 8 and 12, you can divide by, no, not 2. You can divide both of them by 2, but the greatest common factor here is 4. So that's going to leave us with negative 1 over 2 times negative 3 over 1. Okay, so that just leaves us with x equals, so negative 1 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 3. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, this is an improper fraction, so 2 can go into 3 once, 1 is your remainder, so 1 and 1. Alright, so that is multiplying, or that is solving equations with fractions using the multiplicative inverse.